Hey. Morning, everyone. Before Doug does the roll call, I just want to apologize for racing in here at the last minute. I am on grandmother duty this week. So dropping off grandchildren in different areas and making sure they have all their lunches. And I just got to say, I appreciate all of you who do that on a daily basis. But I'm too old for this, so just gotta say. But thank you all for your patience in waiting for us to get here. And I know Carl and I are tag teaming today. He has a daughter that is just starting college, and I know that's always difficult to drop those kids off on that last day. And we appreciate you being here. At least for this first part, so then you can run over and say your goodbyes. I know that's going to be hard.
And if I may explain, because I've missed very few meetings in 17 years of our commission, as you deserve. But yes, our oldest daughter is starting at Pepperdine. And I missed yesterday, and my wife has let me know, I guess they have a tradition at 2 p.m. they do a blessing of the students before they send the parents away. And I've been told if I miss the blessing, I'll be there for the cursing. So I will need to leave here for that 3-hour drive at 10:40 this morning.
So I think that really goes to show the commitment of the commissioners. I know we have, Commissioner Rudo that races back and forth. She has a young one at home and making sure we're juggling all those things. So I just wanted to say a special thank you to everyone who does that juggling on a daily basis. So Douglas, can we do roll call and then some instructions, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Bradshaw. Here. Commissioner Cruz. Commissioner Falcone.
Here.
Commissioner Grizzly.
Present.
Vice Chair Guardino.
Present.
Commissioner Lugo. She was logging in. She's over at the District 7 office. She should be on shortly. Commissioner Lugo. Commissioner Martinez. Commissioner Norton. Commissioner Tavoloni. Commissioner Tavoloni, over there? I believe he's online. Chair Eager.
Here.
Senator Newman. Member Friedman. Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Douglas. Instructions.
Welcome to day 2 of the August 2023 CTC meeting in beautiful San Diego. The commission meeting's agenda is located on our website at www.catc.ca.gov. All of the presentations for today's meeting are also available on our website at the commission meetings page under the View Download Meeting Materials tab. Any document the CTC creates can be translated into any language you need. Simply email us at ctc@catc.ca.gov and we'll have them returned to you as quickly as possible. American Sign Language translation is being provided on the webinar for this meeting. You should see the translators on your screen. Live closed captioning is also available. Please select the Show Captions tab at the bottom of your screen. There are a number of language options available there to choose from. For the presenters, if you're on the agenda to make the presentation, please do your best to be succinct. Please remember to speak at a steady pace to allow our translating service adequate time for accurate translations. If you're presenting remotely, we hope that you will turn on your camera during your presentation if you have one. For all of our members of the public, we welcome comments from public as part of each item at this meeting. For those attending the meeting in person, please submit a speaker slip to the clerk, that's me up here at the front of the ring, to let you know you want to make a comment on that item. For those attending via Zoom, you should see a webinar control panel, likely located at the bottom of your screen, where you'll find a raise hand and the Q&A tabs. We encourage you to use the raise hand feature as early into the item as you can to give the system time to acknowledge you. Alternately, you may use the Q&A tab to submit your comment in writing. Please be sure to include the agenda item number you are commenting on, and commission staff will read the comment on your behalf. As a reminder, each registered attendee is provided a unique link and phone number to access this webinar. You should not be shared with other participants as they are registered to you specifically and can create confusion for staff when making comments. For all of our meeting attendees, please do your best to be concise Please make sure your comments add new information. If you agree with the comments of a previous speaker, simply make that statement. Remember to speak at a steady pace to allow our translating service adequate time for accurate translations. Since we often have many speakers, we ask that you make your point in 3 minutes or less. If for some reason we have many speakers on any single topic, we reserve the right to limit comments to 1 minute as needed. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Douglas. And again, welcome to beautiful San Diego, day 2. Today, we're going to go back to tab 8, and we want to welcome Director Tavares. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Chair Eager. Commissioners, Director Taylor, thank you for your flexibility in allowing me to make this presentation on day 2. Do have a quick presentation. I know we have a lot of items to get through this morning. But first of all, just to everyone here, welcome. I'm Tony Tavares, Caltrans Director, and it's always a pleasure to be here and share some updates from Caltrans. Next slide, please. At the June Commission meeting, this project, US 395, Alonja Cartago project, was brought up. And at that meeting, and I want to thank Commissioner Lugo for her dedication, her leadership in helping us get to a point where we actually suspended a 2-mile section of this project. And it is still under suspension at this time, but we have been making great progress working with the 5 tribes in the area. And on July 13th and 14th, I personally went to Bishop, California to meet with the leaders of the 5 tribes. I sat down with each of them on July 13th. I toured the project itself so I could get a better understanding and better feel for the issues that were occurring on the project. And then I sat down also with my leadership team, and I want to just say that Director Ryan Dermody out of District 9, he is fully committed to ensuring that we meet the needs of our tribal communities in the Eastern Sierra, Owens Valley area. And so he is committed, just as I am, to ensure that how we move forward will have support from the tribes going forward. During the meetings on July 14th, there were obviously some frustrations. There were issues with communication between Caltrans and the tribes that need to improve. There are also some asks of Caltrans as far as the request to be part of our Native American Advisory Council. And so I brought that forward to the previous NAC meeting that the Eastern Sierra tribes would like to have a representative on the NAC. And so that is moving forward, which I'm proud to mention today. That is going forward. We've also enhanced our communication, and we're working very closely to develop a very robust communication plan on how we not only communicate issues to our tribal communities, but engage them in the planning process, engage them throughout the design process, and continue engaging them through construction and the maintenance and operations part once that construction is completed. We've been making, as I mentioned, some great progress, and our staff in District 9, the leadership has taken this on personally to meet with the tribal historic preservation officers in the field, or TIPOs. We have been able to adjust some of the design work in this 2-mile segment so that we avoid and minimize any impacts to the cultural resources along this section here. I think we're making extremely good progress. Communication has improved immensely, and I'm continuing to stay on top of the project with District Director Ryan Dermody to ensure that if there's any need for me to return anytime soon to Bishop, I am more than happy to do that. And so hopefully by our next commission meeting, I'll be able to share even additional positive progress going forward. But all in all, the meetings I thought were extremely productive, very positive. It's allowing us to rebuild and enhance our relationship with the 5 tribes in the area. So very excited of these opportunities moving forward. Next slide. So safety, and I know Secretary Omashak talked about safety yesterday, and this is an issue that it's paramount for us at Caltrans. It's our highest priority. And when we talk about safety for the public, but safety for our own employees, I just want to start this morning. There are several wildfires currently burning in California. Just a week ago, our sister agency, CAL FIRE, lost 2 of their own employees and a contractor in a devastating helicopter accident. And I know that Secretary, myself, we've reached out to CAL FIRE, provide our resources to help them and offer our condolences to them moving forward. But also in Northern California, over the recent days, there have been monsoonal weather and lightning strikes that have caused some additional fires in Siskiyou County. Currently, State Route 96 is closed, and we have several Caltrans employees that have been evacuated from their homes along that route. What I wanted to mention is these employees, even though they've been evacuated, they're thinking about their homes, they're thinking about their families, they're still reporting to work to ensure that other people are able to evacuate and get to safety. And they're ensuring that those roadways, they're maintaining the closures of those roadways and ensuring that people have detours to get to their destinations, all while they're thinking of their own personal situation. And to me, this is a true example of what we talk about at Caltrans as being people-centric, people first. Even our employees are thinking of others before they think of themselves. And so I just wanted to recognize them, let them know that I'm thinking of them very closely, and they're in my hearts constantly. And that I hope we can all just thank them as well at this commission meeting and throughout the state, that these employees are going through a lot right now. And I heard, unfortunately, one of our employees lost their home. So very difficult. I take these things very personally, obviously. And so I just wanted to start out with that when we talk about safety. I also wanted to mention on safety too, that over the next 5 years, Caltrans is executing $2.3 billion worth of safety improvement projects through the shop and through our highway maintenance program. And this equates to almost $450 million per year for safety improvement projects. We're dedicated, we're committed to getting to 0 fatalities and serious injuries by 2050. That's our Vision Zero goal. And I think these projects are going to move us in that direction. We're going to be focusing on 5 areas: enhancing pedestrian and bicyclist safety, increasing roadway intersection safety, implementing speed reduction measures, and preventing impaired driving related crashes. We have a whole program on wrong way drivers to eliminate those type of crashes. And one of the highest sources of crashes are lane departures. We're doing several projects, multiple projects, some of that low hanging fruit to mitigate those lane departures and save lives going forward. I will say it takes the 3 E's to really get us to this Vision Zero. One is engineering of the system. So infrastructure enhancements, what we can do, where we can do those enhancements. It takes robust engagement through public education. And it takes partnerships with our enforcement agencies to also ensure that we have this holistic approach to safety. Next slide. And this lays out the 5 priority areas of where we're applying that $2.3 billion. And we anticipate over the next 5 years that we can reduce the number of crashes by as high as 50% if we get all of these projects executed. And many of them will be coming forward to the shop, to the CTC, through our shop program over the next coming years. And we look forward to working with the commission to ensure these projects get allocated. Next slide. So our quick equity update. Caltrans partners with many state agencies, our regional and local partners throughout the state, engaging small businesses and trying to help them ensure that they have the opportunities to bid and actually be awarded Caltrans projects. For more than a decade now, I will say Caltrans has exceeded the 25% small business goal that was set in the state. And we have initiated the small business goal on our own over a decade ago. And now AB 2019 has codified that, where all state agencies will be required to meet this 25% goal as well. So we're proud to be one of the state departments leading the way for California, and we intend to even exceed that goal going forward. When it comes to federal aid projects, the DBE program, through June 2023, Caltrans exceeded our 22.2% federal disadvantaged business enterprise or DBE goal. And we are currently at 22.93%. So we're slightly above the goal for the year, which is excellent to hear. And we've committed already nearly $800 million to DBEs so far this federal fiscal year. So that is quite an increase from previous years. And again, I'm thrilled that we are getting the diversity. We're able to continue to grow disadvantaged businesses and small businesses in California. We're also doing an enormous amount of education. We're encouraging and connecting California's small business, disadvantaged businesses, disabled veteran businesses throughout the state with really pandemic-proof resources to assist them in landing Caltrans contracts. And that's our goal, is to ensure that they have the tools, that they're able to be awarded these contracts, and that they can complete them with our help and assistance going forward. We're continuing to work to expand our available pool of small and disadvantaged businesses that can work in Caltrans and in California. And what I also just want to highlight right here, a great success story. Marvell Steel Placers and the CEO, Jacqueline Pruitt. That's a photo of her on the slide. I had the opportunity to meet her on several occasions and hear her personal stories. She's actually overcome so many barriers in her life, such as addiction. She was incarcerated for over 20 years. And even on her arm, she's dated the date she was released. And it's been 20 years since that date. She has been winning awards with Caltrans on placing steel on many Caltrans projects throughout the Los Angeles area. She is a great role model for so many other African-American disadvantaged businesses that are out there. And she is a great partner to Caltrans. She comes to our DBE summits and our workshops and is always willing to speak and share her story with everyone. So I wanted to take a moment, highlight her company, Marvell Steel Placers, and the wonderful work and the success story, the success of what she's overcome in her life. One other point I wanted to mention here, the annual DBE Summit is coming up on October 10th. It will be held at the Richmond Craneway Pavilion in the Bay Area. And last year we had over 550 participants at our DBE Summit, which featured, we had DBE listening sessions, we had training on how you obtain DBE certification in California and working with Caltrans and other state agencies. We also held workshops on how to obtain bonding and insurance, which is a critical component and sometimes a huge barrier for some of these smaller disadvantaged businesses. So great participation last year. We hope to increase that number as well at our DBE Summit on October 10th in the Bay Area. Next slide. I'm dealing with climate action, one of our other core 4 priorities. I know yesterday tab 24 provided you a deep dive on carbon reduction strategy, so I'm not going to belabor the issue here, but just wanted to mention 2 points. One of the points I want to mention, and something that we all should be proud of, is that California continues to lead the nation on greenhouse gas reduction. And there's a saying, where California goes, so goes the nation. And so I just want to reiterate that point. I think that it's important that we all celebrate that and that we stand proud. We are leading the nation. I also wanted to reiterate the point on the carbon reduction program that we're directing the state's annual $110 million of carbon reduction program funds to be spent on projects that support the furthering expansion of zero emission vehicles and zero emission infrastructure, active transportation, transit opportunities, and rail opportunities. So this program is dedicated to meeting our climate goals and addressing those areas there. Next slide. So we recently celebrated our 50th anniversary. Caltrans just turned 50 years and in July of 2023. And there's two photos I want to direct your attention to. The one that says 1973, if you look at the makeup of the state leadership at that time, you may ask yourself, or I'm going to ask you, you don't have to answer, but what do you notice there? And then if you look at the other photo on the complete opposite side that says 2023, what do you notice? And that's something I'm proud of, how far we've evolved over 50 years, which is a long time, and we still have a lot of growth to do. But if you look at the 1973 photo, it is completely comprised of Caucasian men, not one woman. And I don't think there's any other diversity in that photograph. Although we're proud of the accomplishments and what they did, bringing together all these transportation departments in the state into Caltrans, I think looking forward at the 2023 photo, seeing the diversity, seeing the inclusion that we have as an organization going forward, we have more than, I would say, close to a third, if not a little bit more than a third of gender diversity, women who are leading our organization, women who are leading the two largest districts in Caltrans, the Bay Area and Los Angeles, as well as the Central Valley. And we, yeah. And they're both here today. And I'm just proud of the makeup of our leadership team. And like I said, we're still growing, we're still evolving, but we are moving in the right direction. And so, commissioners, this concludes my presentation. I'm so thankful for this opportunity this morning, and I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Director Tavares. And I think I'll start with Commissioner Lugo. She raised her hand 1 minute in, so we'll go with you.
I'm going to start speaking quietly so I don't boom into the room. Can you all hear me at a reasonable level?
You
Yes.
boomed into the room, so thank you.
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Chair Eager, for the opportunity to comment. I am joining from District 7 headquarters this morning. Thank you, Director Roberts, for letting me use this space. And two things. First, thank you, Director Tavares and Director Dermody, for all of the leadership you've been showing around, figuring out how we can do things differently with engagement with tribes. It's being figured out. This is happening in real time. I think we can all appreciate that. And, you've shown a tremendous amount of grace with trusting the process. And I really just want to share my appreciation for that. Our state is on fire. I think a lot of us have just been horrified at the scale of destruction with what happened on the island of Maui recently in our sister state of Hawaii. And one of the things that stands out to me in all of that is the way that transportation and ecology go hand in hand. What's happening with our wildlife systems matters with what's happening with our roadways. And here in California, we have a really long history of issues around invasive species and ecological disruption. So when we talk about climate change today, it's not just something new that's happening with emissions and how carbon and other greenhouse gases are changing our weather patterns, but also the landscape that has been created through the last several hundred years of colonial incursion. And, so for me, when we talk about issues relating to engagement with Indigenous communities There is the respect and the healing of our human relationships. That's part of the story and the sense of urgency. But another piece of it really has to do with the fact that the land management techniques and the traditional ecological knowledge that were used by people in California for at least 10,000 years before our current era started, were unfortunately really largely ignored for quite a long time, and we created a significant amount of ecological disruption and destruction in our beautiful state that we all want to preserve. So partnership with tribes is just so crucial to our future. If we're going to find another way to live in this state and be able to preserve its quality of life for future generations, we need to repair the damage that has been done to knowledge keepers and the folks who knew how to live in balance with the systems in California. I really encourage anybody who's not aware of this ecological history to learn more about it. There's a great book out there called Tending the Wild. There was a follow-up series on PBS called Tending the Wild that just provides a lot of information. We have a lot of public education to do to let folks know that the tribes here in California, in large part, were not hunter-gatherers. They were cultivators. They did quite a bit of management of plant and animal populations, but unfortunately, that work was invisible to the early settlers in the region. So just really appreciate that we are figuring out a new way forward. Really appreciate the Caltrans leadership in this space, and we're thinking about the way that future generations are going to live in California, and I really hope we can make that connection with the land stewardship that is part of our history and living traditions here in California. And I do have a question in terms of approaches to safety and the enforcement element. What do we know at Caltrans? And I guess this is a question not only for Director Tavares, but also for our CTC staff. How have we evaluated over the years the effectiveness of the enforcement model as a path to safety? A theme that came up in yesterday's meeting, and is a theme that's on all of our minds constantly, is around jobs. And, I got to tour the Port of Long Beach last week with a group of environmental justice organizations. And something that was really highlighted there was the importance of our ports in terms of job creation. Another thing that was highlighted was the increasing turn to automation within our port systems. And, it really just drove home for me this point that unless we work very proactively, we may be seeing a transportation innovation future that's being designed without workers in mind. And we spend a lot of money on traffic enforcement in our state. And I'm just wondering what mechanisms, what evaluation systems do we have in place to ensure that the models we use are effective, and possibly exploring other models.
Thank you, Commissioner Ludo.
Yeah,
Lugo,
Commissioner.
would you like to
Lugo.
start? Yes, gonna give that one a
Sure,
shot.
I'll give it a
Okay.
try here. Thank you for that, for the comments. I truly appreciate that. As you mentioned, I'm learning, and I was completely educated also when I met with the 5 tribal communities on the Eastern Sierra. So it was, for me, it was a completely positive experience, and really appreciated working with them, and we'll continue to engage with them and continue to harvest and build that relationship with them going forward. With safety, Caltrans really focuses more on the engineering side and the educational side of that. However, when we talk about enforcement, I think we have to be a little careful on the enforcement side, because it can be construed in many different ways. And in my mind, speed happens to be one area, driving too fast on these roadways. Speed happens to be a huge factor in deaths and serious injuries to pedestrians and cyclists. And so on the Caltrans side of the world, the engineering side, we're looking at how can we utilize technology, whether it's vehicle to infrastructure, vehicle to pedestrian, using that type of technology so that vehicles can identify there's a pedestrian, a cyclist, somebody in that right of way, and will, if you will, react the vehicle so that we can reduce and eliminate those types of impacts. We're looking also at how do we provide infrastructure that slows speeds so people aren't driving 45, 50 miles down a main street road, and that we narrow those roadways down, and we provide other infrastructure that slows the speed. Because we know that vehicles traveling below 35 miles, below 25 miles per hour, people tend to have a higher rate of surviving that type of crash if they're hit. Rather than on 35 miles per hour, the rates go down significantly. So we're focusing on those components. But I'd be happy to work with the commission and their staff, and have our staff work with them on engaging some of the enforcement techniques that might be out there, and bring that back at a future commission meeting.
Thank you, Director Tavares. Commissioner Lugo, does that answer your question, or did you want somebody from staff to jump in?
I don't know if there is a pertinent answer from staff. Would love to hear it, but I like the director's suggestion to bring this to a future meeting. And really, I just want to see what existing data and approaches we have in terms of evaluating whether the money that's spent on partnership with police agencies, specifically on enforcement, is producing results, given the fact that we've had worsening safety as opposed to improving on our roadways, and what a crisis it is. So if there's an answer, I'd love to hear it, but we can also talk about it at a future meeting. Thank you.
Sure. Okay. Future meeting? Okay, we're doing future meeting. And thank you for joining us. I know you're also juggling life and work, and we appreciate you jumping in. And one thing I learned this week is when you pack the kids' lunch, you can't just put a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and a fruit roll and a box of Sunny Delight in a bag anymore. So keep that in mind when your son gets a little bit older. Do we have, yes, Commissioner Martinez.
Madam Chair, and thank you, Director Tavares, for your report. On the safety aspect, I wanted to take a different approach as it more towards from a public health perspective. Has Caltrans or any other transportation agency across the country taken a look at the chronic stress, specifically, prior to COVID and after COVID? A lot of us are under a lot of stress, whether we're trying to get our kids to school or to college, or trying to get here, right? Where, all of a sudden our hormones, different hormones, whether it's epinephrine, cortisol, whatever have you, start to trigger your parasympathetic nervous system. And chronic stress, if we don't know how to manage that, creates a lot of aggression and fear. And so if we're behind a car, how that can impact. And so I'm wondering, how can we partner up with the Department of Public Health, right? Because that would be another additional campaign, because how you help with the sympathetic nervous system is breathing techniques, other things that we could incorporate when people have that high anxiety and they're in their car. I'll tell you the many times that I've either been hit by being on a bicycle or being in a car being hit, and what that actually does to your psyche, right? You no longer want to drive, you no longer want to get on your bicycle. But imagine those folks who are actually behind the wheel, right? And what their state of mind is, and what can we do to help improve that? Because I do believe that the increase and Secretary Omashakin mentioned the increase of fatalities and what is causing that, right? With all the improvement we've made in regards to safety, our educational campaigns, that there's just been a massive increase, not just here in California, but throughout the United States. And we have to ask ourselves, does this have to do with chronic stress and how we are responding as human beings and the impact that it may be having with these crashes? Something for us to consider. Thank you.
I don't know if you want to respond. Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Martinez. That's an excellent point that you just made with public health. And so Caltrans is partnering with other state departments, and one of them is the Office of Traffic Safety that specializes and focuses primarily on this issue here. And so there's several campaigns, several work areas that we are collaborating with them along with the California Highway Patrol and other state departments so that we can hopefully make a difference in this space here. We do realize coming out of the pandemic, many of us are suffering from mental health issues, social issues, different types of issues that are occurring. And it's not necessarily our fault. It's just the fact that we have been in an isolated environment for 3 years. Now coming out of that is extremely stressful. And so there are a lot of issues there. And so I think this is an area we're going to continue to do a lot of work in. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any other commissioners that have comments or questions for the director? Do we have any public comment?
We've received no public comment for this item.
All right, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Now we are on tab 68. Tim.
Can you hear me? There we go. Good morning, commissioners. Tab 68 is an action item related to the evaluation of the Caltrans 2022-23 progress in meeting asset management performance targets. As required by Government Code 14526.7B and Streets and Highways Code Section 2032.5, Caltrans reported to the Commission at the June 2023 CTC meeting on progress towards meeting the targets and performance measures established for state highways. As reported by our Streets and Highways Code Section 2032.5C states that annually, the Commission shall evaluate the effectiveness of Caltrans in reducing deferred maintenance and improving road conditions on the state highway system as demonstrated by the progress made towards achieving the goals set forth in the SB1. As reported by Caltrans, the projected condition of all pavement classes and the actual conditions of culverts are exceeding the Commission adopted 2022 year-end benchmarks. Traffic management systems and bridges are within 3.3% and 2.5% respectively of those benchmarks. In addition, Caltrans reported they have met or on track to meet the 2027 Senate Bill 1 targets for all primary assets other than bridges. The supplementary asset conditions are updated every even year. The conditions for most of the supplementary asset conditions remain relatively level as compared to 2 years ago. However, the conditions for weigh and motion scales show significant improvement. This was mainly due to a change from an age-based assessment to a condition assessment-based criteria. The conditions for bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure decreased. This was mainly due to receiving refined conditions from the completed Caltrans active transportation plans completed by each district. Commission staff will continue to monitor planned investments in future shop cycles to assess the progress towards meeting the target for this supplementary asset. Overall, the data provided in the 2022-23 benchmark report is evidence of progress towards reducing deferred maintenance and improving road conditions on the state highway system. Staff recommends the Commission approve the findings of this evaluation and that the evaluation be included in the Commission's annual report to the legislature.
Thank you, Tim. Do we have any questions or comments? Do we have any public comment?
We received no public comment for this item.
Thank you. Then I'll entertain a motion.
Motion approved. Second.
Bradshaw and Vice Chair Gardino, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. At this time, we're going to move to item number 113. We're going to take some of those that we need to vote on here. Casey.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'll be presenting tabs 113 and 114 together. Tab 113 is a supplemental request to allocate $280,250,000 to the Transit and Intercity Rail Capital Program's Peninsula Corridor Electrification Project, Electrified Caltrain Corridor Component. And 12114 is a supplemental request to allocate $86,750,000 to the Transit and Intercity Rail Capital Program's Peninsula Corridor Electrification Project, procurement of electric multiple unit vehicles component. Both components are located in San Mateo, Santa Clara, and San Francisco counties. The electrification component experienced delays and cost overruns due to underground utilities, which caused a direct delay and cost increase to the procurement of electric multiple unit vehicles component. As a result, the implementing agency reconciled the project's budget and found that it increased from 1.9 billion to 2.4 billion. To fill the gap, the implementing agency received an additional 367 million in transit and intercity rail capital program cycle 6 general augmentation funds. These supplemental requests are necessary to fully fund both components and to complete construction. Please note tab 113 is reflected on change list as a yellow meeting handout. Staff has reviewed these requests and finds them consistent with the transit and intercity rail capital program allocation policy. Staff recommends your approval.
That's 113 and 114?
Yes, sorry.
Okay.
Recommends your approval of 113 and 114, please.
Thank you. Do we have comments or questions from Vice Chair Gardino?
I do, but I think there's also speakers. Should I wait until we hear speakers?
If you'd like, yes.
If it's okay,
I don't have any public comment cards.
oh, we don't? I think we do.
Oh, I didn't get any. Okay. Come on up. That's okay. Come on up. Okay, go ahead.
Michelle Bouchard is approaching. She's the general manager of the Caltrain Joint Powers Board.
Okay.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you very much for the opportunity to make a statement here today. I just want to talk briefly, first of all, much thanks to CTC staff, also to Caltrans, to the governor's office, to all of the legislators, to this commission that has really supported this program throughout the time it's been in construction and for the decades before that. This is a truly transformational program for not only the Bay region, but for the state. It will support all sorts of climate goals. There's an item later for a BMU, which is another project that will help for us to operate zero emissions south of our corridor, potentially to Salinas. So we're really excited about the work that's happening. And we also really are looking forward to revenue service on an electrified Caltrain in 2024, just over a year from today. And these funds are necessary to do that. So really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any
There's somebody.
public
online.
comment in the room here? Okay, do we have online public comment?
Yes, we do. We have one virtual attendee with their hand raised at this time. Let's call him William Walker.
Hi, I'm William Walker and I'm a Bay Area resident. I'll be really quick. I definitely support the item, but I'm going to try to, when items come from the Bay Area to this commission, just let the commission know that we really have an issue around governance and the multiple agencies in the Bay Area and want to try to start talking about it. So definitely don't want you to not approve this, but want you to keep in mind that we need a solution around that. But thank you.
Thank you, William, and we miss you.
Oh, I miss you too. I'll see you next meeting.
Do we have any other public comment?
We received no other public comment for this item.
Okay, thank you, Vice Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair and colleagues on the commission. For those of you who are also Bob Dylan songs, he wrote a song in the 1980s that I think was called Long Train Coming. And this has been a long train coming in terms, you would not want me to, yes. But there are so many folks over a 25-year period, 27-year period that bring us here today. And he who praises all praises none. So I'm sure I'll miss people, but people like Supervisor Dave Pine in San Mateo County, Roseanne Faust, Cindy Chavez in Santa Clara County, former Mayor Sam Liccardo, Supervisors Aaron Peskin and Shaman Walton, and former San Francisco Supervisor Sean Ellsburn. So many people who have staked their political capital and sweat equity to make this happen. It's been a pleasure and an honor to play a small part. I've actually led or co-led 6 different county, regional, and statewide transportation funding measures since 1996. 4 components to fund Caltrain. 1996, a measure that included 43 million for Caltrain, 2000 measure that included 154 million, a 2016 measure that included 1,014 million for Caltrain, the 2018 regional measure 3 that had 425 million for Caltrain, and of course 2020's measure RR, which I loved because RR is railroad, the 3-county measure for a long-term source of funding solely dedicated to Caltrain. Just so much that made this happen. And I would just mention at the federal level, people like Dianne Feinstein and Nancy Pelosi and Anna Eshoo and Jackie Spear, we wouldn't be here today without their dogged determination and leadership to make this happen. So if it's okay with my colleagues, I would be honored to make the motion to approve items 113 and 114 as staff recommends, so that we can electrify this service that has been in continuous operation in the 3 counties since Abraham Lincoln was president of the United States. I make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Vice Chair. And I'm sure all the people on that list and the people in this room would add you to that list of people to thank.
You're very gracious.
Do I have a second?
So second.
Commissioner Grisby, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And I want to thank my colleagues that this was unanimous. Thank
Yeah.
you.
And I think we need to go back to item 69. We needed to hear that before 10 a.m. and I think we're just going to make it.
Thank you, Commissioners. Tab 69 is an information item on broadband for all, California's commitment to closing the digital divide. Scott Adams, Deputy Director from the Office of Broadband and Digital Literacy at the California Department of Technology, will provide an update on broadband for all, the Middle Mile Broadband Initiative, and digital equity. I believe Scott is with us virtually, and so I will turn it over to Scott. I see him up there.
Thank you very much.
Scott.
Good morning. Good morning, Chair. Should I proceed?
Yes, please.
Got it. Well, thank you. Good morning, Chair and commissioners and members of the public. It's a pleasure to be here from the California Department of Technology's Office of Broadband and Digital Literacy to provide an update on the state's Broadband for All program, which includes an update on the Middle Mile Broadband Initiative and the Digital Equity Plan. Next slide, please. My name is Scott Adams. I'm the Deputy Director of the Office of Broadband and Digital Literacy. And, just for context, our office coordinates the Broadband for All program through the California Broadband
We're
Council.
having broadband problems.
We need broadband for all, but not irony.
Excuse me, I'm hello?
Yeah.
I'm hearing some talking in the background. Is that should I continue to proceed? I'm sorry, can you guys still hear me?
We have an update over there.
We invented it, but it's not working.
Oh, got it. Okay, I think there's maybe someone who's on virtually has their is not muted. I'm hearing some background, but I will proceed. So as I was saying, our office coordinates the Broadband for All program through the California Broadband Council, which includes a number of state agencies and departments, the California Transportation Agency and the California Public Utilities Commission. Next slide, please.
Okay.
Hey, Scott,
hear me? Come back.
Yeah, Scott, if you can hear me, they can't hear you.
Okay, let's do that. Let's move on to.
Oh, they can't hear me?
135, and then we'll come back to 69.
Right, they.
Sorry.
I think their feed got
Flexible.
cut.
Oh, got it. Okay.
I think she said they're gonna come back to your item when they get reconnected.
Thank you for being flexible with us, Casey. 131, 132, and
Okay.
135.
Really sorry.
Just give me a heads up.
Tab 131 is a request to advance allocate 10 million to the locally administered State Transportation Improvement Program programs, Smart Windsor Rail Project, PTC, and Signal Crossing Component in Sonoma County. This project will fund the rail system's hardware, software, and associated onboard and control center costs for the testing and relaunching of revenue rail service for the publicly owned smart passenger and freight rail system over the 3 miles between the Sonoma County Airport Station, Smart Rail Operations Center, and the town of Windsor. Staff has reviewed this request and finds it consistent with the State Transportation Improvement Program guidelines. Staff recommends your approval.
And this is for 131 only. correct?
131 only, correct?
Okay. Thank you. Do we have any comments or questions from commissioners? Do we have any public comment on 131?
We have no public comment on this item. Thank you.
Second. That's Commissioner Liu and Commissioner Norton. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 132. Naveen, keep talking and I think maybe it comes on. No.
And I tried turning it on and off again too.
I know IT. No troubleshooting.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tab 132 is an action item to approve a Cycle 3 Solutions for Congested Corridors Program allocation request of $30 million for the locally administered Smart Windsor Rail System Extension Project component in Sonoma County. This is the first allocation request for the recently programmed third cycle of the Solutions for Congested Corridors program. Yay. The Smart Windsor Rail System Extension Project will provide several public benefits through extended commuter rail services, non-motorized pathways, new short line freight rail service opportunities, and expanded broadband access to the 6 most populated cities in the counties of Sonoma and Marin. These improvements will provide meaningful transportation alternatives to single occupancy vehicles on US 101 and the local street network, which will increase transit ridership and significantly reduce vehicle miles traveled and greenhouse gas emissions. This request is consistent with the Solutions for Congested Corridors program and guidelines, and a baseline agreement for this project will be brought for commission approval in October per the commission's SB1 accountability and transparency guidelines. Therefore, commission staff recommends your approval of tab 132. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any comments or questions from commissioners? Commissioner Bradshaw?
Motion to approve.
Second. Do we have any public comment?
Oh, sorry. Jump.
Okay.
We received no public comment for this item.
Okay, thank you. We have Bradshaw and Norton. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 135. We have Kat virtually.
Good morning. Can you guys hear me? Can everyone hear me? Good morning, Commissioners. Tab, can you hear me?
Okay, Casey.
I'll just proceed. Good morning,
Casey, thanks for being
Commissioners.
so
Tab
flexible today. You're also getting your steps in.
Yeah.
I am
Which
getting
is
my-
awesome.
Thank you.
I
Yeah,
think
we are still working on the audio issues. We can hear you in the webinar, but we cannot hear you in the room.
Okay, Kat, so I'll go ahead and take care of it for you. Tab 135 is an action item requesting to allocate 244,761,000 to 17 projects in the Transit and Intercity Rail Capital Program, including project number 3, the East Ridge to BART Regional Connector Project listed in the attached book item. Staff has reviewed these requests and finds them consistent with the Transit and Intercity, or excuse me, the Transit and Intercity Rail Capital Programs allocation policy. Staff recommends your approval.
Thank you, Casey. Hold on.
We're doing the environmental first on tab 73.
Yes. Okay, tab 73, Cherry.
Okay. Commissioners, tab 73 is an action item. This is a final environmental impact report and addendum for the Inglewood Transit Connector Project. The city of Inglewood found that the project will not have a significant impact on the environment after mitigation. Staff review this request and recommends approval.
Thank you. Do we have any comments or questions? Do we have any public comment?
We received no public comment for this item.
I'll entertain a motion for tab 73. Lou, Norton, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. I'll go back to 135 and we were already presented with that. And there was no, oh, there is public comment. Marcella Renzi.
I believe that's for tab 72.
This is for the Inglewood project.
Okay, apparently it is working. Good morning, commissioners. I'm Marcella Renzi, Deputy Director for Grants and Allocations at BTA, and I am here to thank you sincerely and deeply for the commission's longtime support for the EVRC project. What you're looking at today is allocating the final piece of funding to construct this project, which the community has been wanting for over 20 years. And the commission's support for the project and improvements associated with this goes back years. I remember being here over a decade ago for your allocation of STIP funding that transformed that portion of Capitol Expressway from an area no one wanted to walk to a place with sidewalks, trees, and protected bus boarding locations. So thank you. Thank you very much. And I look forward to inviting you to both the ribbon cutting and to enjoy the final project.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comment on item 135?
We received no. Hold on. We do have one virtual attendee with their hand raised for this item.
Okay,
Carly Katona. You're now unmuted, or you're free to unmute yourself. Go ahead.
Good morning, commissioners. My name is Carly Katona. I'm the Deputy Chief Operating Officer for the Inglewood Transit Connector Joint Powers Authority. And on behalf of the city of Inglewood and the
So she is
JPA,
speaking, but we are still experiencing audio issues in the room.
Okay, well,
Should
maybe
I
someone in the
ask
room
her
could
to
just
pause
express
her comment?
our appreciation.
if you could ask whoever's on the line to send in a written comment.
Sure. We just wanted to express our appreciation. Maybe someone in the room could pass on the message. Thank you.
Carly just wanted to express her appreciation and just wanted that passed along.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Then I'll entertain a motion.
If I
Yes,
may comment.
yes, please.
Thank you. If that's okay. Thank you, Commissioner Bradshaw. This is another one of those examples where it takes a village and multi-levels of government as well as public and private sector. This has been in the works, as you heard a moment ago, for more than 23 years. 5 different funding sources totaling the 530 million to serve an area of San Jose and Silicon Valley who is often underserved, our east side of San Jose. And it's incredibly heartening to see this finally come to fruition through those 5 funding sources. One was a ballot measure in 2000 that I was honored to lead that provided about 230 million of the 530 million. Another ballot measure has secured the regional measure 3, the entire Bay Area secured more than 100 million towards this total. And how honored we were when Secretary Omashakin deemed this project worthy of TIRCIP funds in his January announcement for the 46,593,000 that we are considering today. So I want to thank CalSTA and our Director of Caltrans, Tony Tavares, for bringing this forward. But just want to thank at the federal level, Zoe Lofgren, at the county and state level, Dave Cortese, Cindy Chavez, local level, Sam Licardo, for all their work on those campaigns to bring this forward to a community that is so deserving and all too often overlooked. And if it's okay with Commissioner Bradshaw, I'd be honored to either make the motion or the second to his motion. Thank you. Go ahead.
Move to approve.
And if I may, I will second that motion.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, colleagues.
Are we going to try to go back to tab 69? Yes? Maybe?
Yes.
Okay. It's a hard maybe.
Sorry, I have a quick question. So did we approve environmental and tab 135 at the same
We
time?
already did environmental.
We did.
before. Yeah.
I just wanted to confirm. Thank you.
Whiplash. You're getting whiplash.
Thank you. If you get up and cross the room, we're just going to call you back. So you might as well stay comfortable.
And we're back to tab 69. Anything you want to talk about while we're waiting for Scott?
This is going to be a really good presentation. I know that they're very prepared.
They are on, they can hear you.
Yeah,
Scott is laughing at you.
I appreciate that.
You know, I feel bad too, because we had a presentation like this in Santa Barbara a year ago, and it was so compelling that for that 1 year mark, I had asked Secretary Umashakin if we could do that after a year on the middle mile on such a vital issue for our state. And it's also a green transportation solution as we look at the middle mile. And I have to leave in 22 minutes. So if we miss this, I want to apologize to Secretary Umashakin and to Scott Adams, who I just think the world of. Hopefully he can hear me, even though we can't yet hear him.
Scott, can you go ahead and talk for us so we can see if we can hear you now?
yeah. Can you hear me now?
Okay, so he's talking, but we cannot hear him in the room.
Should we consider, I hate to put it off to our next meeting because Scott's prepared. If we don't get the sound system back today, can we take it to the next meeting?
Sure. And we'll move on to the next
Other-
item, and then hopefully they'll fix it before you have to leave, and we'll
Well,
see.
And
We'll give it a
so for the-
try.
So for the
So
folks,
Madam Chair.
We'll come back. We are now on, I think,
Tab
Who knows?
70.
70.
We'll be at 70. I'm not Celeste. Celeste is virtual, so I will present
Okay.
tab 70 on her behalf. Commissioners, tab 70 is an action item to adopt the fiscal year 2023-24 local streets and roads funding initial report of eligible cities and counties. I want to make a note that this item has a yellow update reflecting 5 additional jurisdictions that were added to initial eligibility as they successfully amended their submittals in time to become eligible. For jurisdictions to be included in the fiscal year 23-24 initial eligibility
Yeah.
report, jurisdictions must adopt by resolution a list
Well,
of
yeah,
transportation projects expected to be funded with fiscal year program funds for which eligibility is sought. The list and resolution must have been received by the commission no later than July 1st. By July 1st, 526 out of 539 jurisdictions in the state of California submitted the required resolution and project lists to the commission. The 526 jurisdictions deemed eligible for funding are identified in the initial report, which is attachment B. Commission staff have confirmed that the 13 remaining jurisdictions also identified in attachment B intend to seek subsequent funding eligibility by or before September 30th. Staff recommends the commission adopt the fiscal year 23-24 road maintenance and rehabilitation account local streets and roads funding initial report of eligible cities and counties. We should probably apply an acronym to that as provided in attachment B. and direct staff to transmit the list of eligible jurisdictions to the state controller. So staff recommends your approval of tab 70.
Thank you. Do we have any comments or questions on tab 70? Do we have any public comment that we can't hear for tab 70?
A second.
Second, Grisby. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. So right now, we're just going to take a quick 5-minute break in order to see if we can get our online folks to be heard. So 5 minutes.
Okay.
Hello, testing. All right. Trying to get a hold of you. Hey, Celeste, if you're still around, we'd like to do an audio test with you.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, nice.
And it's glorious. Thank you. Just stand by for 1 second. All right, Celeste, we should be good now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Not right now. We'll see. Gonna try real fast. Stay as long as you can. Okay, we're starting.
Scott Adam. He said he had another meeting to get to.
Tim, we're gonna go to 69, yes? Run.
Hold on.
What?
There's a scheduling.
I don't have a scheduling issue.
Yeah, they both dropped. If we have to hold it.
We can do it next time. Okay. Okay. We're good. We're good with it. Same as that one. So we need to, Need to revote 135. Oh, you have to stay for just a minute. Carl, you're gonna have to stay for just a minute. You're gonna have to stay for just a minute. We have to go back.
We're gonna have to defer that, Madam Chair.
Okay. Then we will defer item 69 to our next meeting. Thank you, Scott and Janice, for giving it a try. We'll do it again in October. At this time, we're gonna have to go back and look at tab 72. After this?
Just a moment while I get my notes up.
So I'm gonna reopen 135.
We're gonna hold it in those tab 72.
And we're gonna negate the vote of 135 and go back to item 72.
Okay, Commissioners, tab 72 is an action item. This is the final second supplemental environmental impact report and addenda for the East Ridge to BART Regional Connector Project. The Santa Clara Valley Transportation Authority adopted a statement of overriding considerations, finding that the project benefits outweigh the impacts. Staff has reviewed this request and recommends approval.
Thank you. Do we have any comments or questions on 72? Do we have any public comment on 72?
Yes, we do have public comment on this item.
Okay,
We have received a written comment from Domingo Candelas, and I will read on their behalf.
thank you.
They write, "Dear Chair Eager, Vice Chair Gardino, and members of the commission, my name is Domingo Candelas. I serve as the council member representing District 8 in East San Jose, including the East Ridge Project Corridor and Destination. I urge you to approve this item, accepting the final environmental documents and approving it for consideration of future funding, including the allocation of TURCP funding later in the agenda. As a former staffer of Senator Bale, I am very grateful to see this project coming to fruition. We all know how much the senator championed funding for major transit investments like the East Ridge to BART Regional Connector, which was included in the Regional Measure 3 Bridge Toll Program, a program authorized by Senator Beal's SB 595. This project is a top priority for Santa Clara's 2000 Measure A local sales tax funding measure because it provides a critical new transit option for residents in disadvantaged communities in my city. The East Ridge project represents equity and economic opportunity, connecting transit riders, often people of color, in my community to a transit system that will bring them to major tech and job centers to the Northwest, where the light rail system was originally built starting in the 1980s. And connecting my community to BART and rail systems, taking them to downtown San Francisco and other Bay Area destinations that they would never previously dream of traveling by transit to get to. Bringing resources and infrastructure like this extension to East San Jose helps address underinvestment in these communities going back decades. The project has been developed and modified over time in consultation and collaboration with the community. The Santa Clara Valley Transportation Authority has conducted extensive community outreach over the years, as well as regular meetings for a dedicated policy advisory committee of the board, meetings of working groups of stakeholders, and meetings of other elected officials in the community. And VTA has updated the project's environmental documents over the years to address input from my community. My community is strongly supportive of this project, and I respectfully urge your acceptance of the final second supplemental environmental impact report and approval of this project for future funding, including the TURCP allocation later in the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. Any other public comment?
As I see it, we do not have any other public comment for this item. Thank you.
Thank you. Then I'll entertain a motion.
I move approval and thank Council Member Domingo Candelas for calling in and recognizing former State Senator Jim Bennett as well.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Grisby, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. We'll go back to 135.
Tab 135 is an action item requesting to allocate $244,761,000 to 17 projects in the Transit and Intercity Rail Capital Program, including project number 3, the East Ridge to BART Regional Connector Project, listed in the attached book item. Staff has reviewed these requests and finds them consistent with the Transit and Intercity Rail Capital Program's allocation policy. Staff recommends your approval.
Madam Chair, we took a vote on this already, so we need to vote to reopen it and then vote again.
Okay, so we make a motion to reopen, I make a motion to reopen item 135. Thank you.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. And we've already heard staff, so I will entertain a motion to approve.
Madam Chair, who was the motion second on the last one?
I was the maker of the motion and Dr.
Lou.
Lou was the seconder of that motion.
And I'll move for approval.
And I will second.
Bradshaw and Vice Chair Gardino, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now we're finished with those, right? Anybody want to do them again? Okay, we're good. Thank you. Now we will go to item number 71. Elika.
Great. Commissioners, tab 71 is an action item to amend Caltrans's Division of Aeronautics 2022 Acquisition and Development Program. This program is being amended to align with the most recently adopted 2023 Capital Improvement Plan, or CIP, which was adopted at the June 2023 Commission meeting. Projects programmed for fiscal year 22-23 that are listed in the 2023 CIP have been moved to fiscal year 23-24. Projects not included in the recently adopted CIP are set to be deprogrammed through this action item. Commissioners, staff recommends approval of this amended 2022 Acquisition and Development Program.
Thank you. Do we have any comments or questions? Do we have any public comment on 71?
We received no public comment for 71.
Right, I'll entertain a motion. Commissioner Bradshaw, do I have a second? Commissioner Grisby, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 74 has been withdrawn. So now we will move, where's John? John's here. Okay, John, you're up, 75.
Excellent. Tab 75 is an action item to approve amendments to the 2022 shop. Please note there are a couple technical changes on the change list, and with those changes, these shop amendments will add 51 new projects and revise 9 projects in the 2022 shop. Of the 51 new projects, 40 of them are major damage projects using the major damage reservation, and 9 are safety projects using the collision reduction reservation. And then we have 1 new stormwater project and 1 new bridge project, which are both using additional programming capacity generated from the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. And then of the 9 new projects, or of the 9 revised projects, 3 of them are kind of like new projects because they're also using new funding capacity from the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act to significantly increase the scope of those projects. So that is exciting, and we're supportive of that because these are much needed stormwater, climate resiliency, and tunnel projects that they're able to complete. So that is the summary of this item. Staff has reviewed this item and recommends approval.
Thank you, John. Do we have any comments or questions on 75 from commissioners? Do we have any public comment on 75?
We received no public comment for this item.
Then I will entertain a motion.
I move approval.
Norton, do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Bradshaw. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, now it's the Tim show.
Thank you. Commissioners, I'm going to take tabs 76 through 89 together with a recommendation at the end. Please note there are yellow replacement book items for tabs 76 and 86 and additional changes as identified on the change list. Tabs 76 through 89 are projects with phases needing an initial allocation that exceed the programmed amount by more than 20%. They include initial allocations for pre-construction support phases, as well as construction support and construction capital. Before summarizing these requests, I would like to highlight tabs 76 and 78 due to the magnitude of the increases. Tab 76 is an action item for a bridge rehabilitation project on State Route 51 in Sacramento County, requesting an initial allocation that exceeds the programmed amount by more than 20% for capital and support. The construction capital was programmed for $62,209,000 and Caltrans is requesting $145,300,000. Construction support was programmed for $10,550,000 and Caltrans is requesting $19,650,000. It should be noted that this project was originally programmed for $139,300,000 in construction capital and $19 million in support, and is using the CMGC delivery method. In 2022, to help efficiently deliver this CMGC project, 3 early work packages were allocated, utilizing $77 million in construction capital and almost $8.5 million in support. Since July of 22, there have been significant cost increases for underestimated elements, unanticipated elements, means and methods, inflation, and added scope. These are reflected in the agreed to price with the CMGC contractor, resulting in the need for $83,091,000 over the remaining programmed amount in construction capital. The increase in construction support from the remaining programmed amount is due to increased working days, specialized inspections, significant changes in traffic control, and a 5-year on-site environmental mitigation. Tab 78 is an action item for a pavement rehabilitation project on I-80 in Placer County, requesting initial allocation that exceeds the programmed amount by more than 20% in construction capital and support. The construction capital was programmed for $78,688,000 and Caltrans is requesting $124,800,000. In construction support was programmed for $6,500,000 and Caltrans is requesting $13 million. The construction capital estimates are greater than the program amount due to unit cost increases, scope changes related to climate resiliency, lengthening the truck climbing lane, and a significant increase in wildlife fencing and increases due to time-related overhead mobilization and contingency. The increase in construction support is mainly due to the increase in working days. CTC staff has worked closely with Caltrans to better understand the requests for each project. Within these 14 projects, there is a total increase of approximately $182 million over the programmed amount, with a total initial allocation of about $413 million. Are there any questions on tabs 76 through 89?
That's a lot of money, first of all. Can I start, if you don't mind? Yes, so I do have a question on 76. I do have a question on 76. So Amarjeet, my friend, you're on the hot seat. So obviously, this is a lot of money that you're asking for. And in looking back through the book item, I see there were a lot of changes late in the project. So could you let us know how that happened and why? And what are those lessons learned for the future? Because it looked like it all came at once. And was there communication issues? If you could explain that to us.
Good morning, Chair, Commissioners, Exec Director, and Director. My name is Amarjeet Benipal, Caltrans District 3 Director. It's good to be with you. Happy belated birthday, Commissioner Martinez. I had to leave last night because we had a little fire in our district, so could not join you at the celebration last night, but we wish you, and I hope you had a great night in San Diego. Chair, you had a great question. So if you indulge me, let me give you a little background so we can all baseline where we are and how we actually get here. Because there are a lot of things which actually came from this project. I wanted to take a moment and share with you that how we can actually work together. Also going forward from the lessons learned, not only for this project, but for this program and for other projects which are going to be similarly not only led by state, but by our partners, they can benefit from it. Just for a little background on the project is on State Route 51 in Sacramento. It connects Route 99 from downtown going towards Interstate 80. And it's one of the most congested corridor in Sacramento. This particular project proposes to replace the deck on an existing bridge, which was built in 1954. While we were evaluating this project at that point, the opportunity to actually start exploring and adding the scope to add a bike and ped facility along with it. Because as some of you on this commission may remember, we had an opportunity to explore those funding opportunities through SHOP. So working with the commission, we were able to add that scope to actually provide class 4 bike path, having the constituency cross on either side of American River Bridge on class 4 bikeway. And as we were going through it, we actually completed the project report environmental document in February of 21. And we selected this particular project for CMGC in spring of 21 as well. And the project was programmed in fiscal year 23-24. That was the timing, what we proposed actually to be delivering it through a normal design bid build process. As we brought the contractor on board, one of the main challenges I asked and the department asked the team to explore, how quickly can we actually go to construction? How can we advance this project so we can take advantage of the limited windows we have in a river environment and in a very tight constrained area that we can actually get to construction? I'm proud to report that a team actually did that, just that. So in the spring, we selected the CMGC in January of 2022. You actually approved the funds to actually have the first child project led to go to construction, which was to actually take care of a clearing and grubbing and making sure that we are taking care of the bird nesting, which was going to otherwise start. So we are going to be restricted to remove that vegetation. And in April of 22, we actually led the second contract to take advantage of the inflation, which might be continue to keep adding up on the steel girders. So we made that to be a child project too. And third, our main objective was trying to actually get into the river environment so we can start doing the foundation and pier work in Sacramento, in American River section of this particular location. And that contract was actually let out in June 2022. If you look at from delivery perspective, these were 3 separate distinct contracts. We were able to put out in a little over 1 year to actually get those to construction. And those 3 projects have been going great. But as a result, the overall project was actually lagging a little bit behind in terms of our evaluation. So the project which is in front of you today is a parent project to replace the deck. And that particular project, when we actually came before you in June of 2022, was about 60% complete, only 60%. At that point, we knew that the cost was actually higher than the remaining cost, which is in front of you in your book for $62 million. At that point, my understanding and my team's understanding was since you already started voting on this project in early of 2022, we could not make any programming adjustment prior to bringing this item today. So therefore, the only option left was to actually go through 120 increase for this particular item. And as Tim alluded very clearly that there are 5 distinct areas which actually resulted in the cost increase. It's a significant cost increase and we take it very serious. We wanted to make sure projects which we are putting forward are actually the most cost-effective projects we can actually bring to the public. So as a result of working together with the contractor, one thing you all know in CMGC, the greatest benefit we get is actually the third-party agreements which we need to secure. We were able to get 8 permits on this project in a record time, which in our normal process, we would be actually bringing this project in front of you in the 4th quarter of this particular fiscal year. And we also had 10 parcels. 10 parcels were secured in a record time to make sure we can actually get to construction as well. So now bringing that to the lessons learned, not only just for this project, but overall for the program. As we all know, Caltrans is a design bid build company. Majority of the projects which you take action on, that's how we deliver the project. We certainly have a design build experience. We now certainly are engaging into CMGC, expanding into GOC, and also going to be in progressive design build as part of Governor's transportation package, which has been approved. But the key lesson learned for us is that when we're actually trying to make these a child project and accelerating and crashing the schedule, we actually have a more focused emphasis on scope and cost management. Scope and cost management. Because we know on CMGC, we can deliver it fast. We can get there early. And Chair, you were with us when we actually did the ribbon cutting on consumers. We delivered that project 2 years ahead of time. And this is, again, we are trying to accomplish the same. We're going to deliver this project ahead of time, but we do need to do a better job on scope and cost management. So that's the one area. And then the second area is from department perspective, we wanted to make sure how best we actually engage commission, especially your commission staff. Because it shouldn't be coming to you at the last minute. We should be having an ongoing dialogue. engagement, communication, and working together to solve those issues. So those are going to be the two lessons learned as a department. We're going to be moving forward and trying to make sure that as we continue to keep exploring other procurement options, that we're taking that into account.
Thank you, Amarjeet. I'm glad you added in the piece about the communication early on. Director Tavares and I, we have this pinky swear agreement that our two organizations would continue to have open communication so that these things are not surprises to anyone. And we certainly understand you couldn't bring it to us early on, but you could certainly bring it to the staff so they knew what to expect as we come here. So I appreciate that's one of those lessons learned. Does anyone else have a question?
I had a question on this item too. The project itself, the way you approached it was to sort of widen the bridge so that you would have a construction lane or area to do the construction while not, I guess, interfering with that heavy traffic. And then you also are widening to include the pedestrian bike path. But now you're left with a bridge that it looks like another lane might go into. Are you planning to put in another lane on that bridge?
The existing facility has 3 lanes in the north direction and 3 in the south. And when the project is going to be finished, it is going to be striped for 3 lanes in each direction.
Okay, because I mean,
staging did require us
under
to-
shop, we're not allowed to spend that money on widening and putting in new lanes. But I think I can understand maybe that because of the congestion, that made more sense. But how much did it add to the cost by having to widen just to have a construction area?
The
temporary
construction
area?
itself is about 4-year construction. So in order to actually take any lanes away from traveling public, with the limited facilities which actually cross in the Sacramento area across American River. So we had to maintain, when we actually did the evaluation on the traffic management plan, we looked at, can we do it to 2 lanes at a time so we don't have to do extra widening? That was one of the alternatives we looked at. But basically what we did is clogged up not only the state highway system, but the implication on the local system was so huge. And if you're familiar with the Sacramento area, there's really not any fixed guideway crossing American River.
Yeah.
So everyone has to be on the local network. What that did is it was going to pretty much choke up the Sacramento Transit's rubber tire system in the Sacramento. So that's why we actually came back to saying we need to maintain 3 lanes in both directions during construction.
Yeah. So I mean, we basically ended up spending a lot more money to widen this bridge simply because of the construction impacts of having to take lanes away over that time. So that's pretty expensive to
And
avoid
plus trying to
congestion.
bring the existing shoulders to current standard. Existing bridge does not have shoulder width at this point.
Right. Okay. I do have some other comments on 78, but
We have anything else on 76? Okay, thank you, Amarjeet. Good. Okay. Do we have any other comments or questions on any of the items between 76 and 89?
I have some on 78. Kind of related to what we just talked about in terms of the
I
late
guess you're
scope
still up,
changes.
Amarjeet, sorry.
Yeah, don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
So this is the Gold Run pavement rehab and truck climbing lane on I-80. With a lot of these projects like it being that came in, it seems like there's a lot of late stage scope changes that are happening. And with this one, it looks like it's at $50 million. I've got some questions. The timing of the scope change on this one, I think we approved the baseline agreement in December, and we weren't told of any scope changes at that time. And somehow between December and now, there's been really dramatic changes in scope over a very short period of time. And I guess my question is, when did you know and why didn't we know it?
So again, I'm going to take a little longer detour to explain it. The project, as you recall, was programmed to have roadway rehabilitation and a truck climbing lane for 6.6 miles in this stretch. So we actually had environmental, and when we were scoping this project, we actually were going to utilize the existing median to add the truck climbing lane. And when we started doing the further evaluation, then decision was made that if we actually take the inside lane out, and what's going to do outside lanes during storm seasons is pretty much choked by traffic, which is either doing the chain on, chain off, or they're actually broken down. So outside lane is typically not available. For first responders to get through this corridor, we need to maintain inside lane through this corridor. So we start exploring the outside widening, and that was studied as part of the environmental document. So the estimates for the project was done in May, June of 2022. And I signed the report for this particular project in August 22. And that was the basis for bringing the baseline agreement to the commission in December. And as you recall, in last year, we actually had the record snowstorms and the second largest snow season. And during that season, we actually realized that the proposed project was going to be only building 2.5 miles of the easterly portion of this project. That we actually had accidents which were taking place near the interchange of Alta, which is about 1.9 mile westerly of that location where we were going to begin truck climbing lane. Since we have studied the entire stretch and we had actually done the preliminary engineering for the entire corridor, once we actually had that accident evaluation, working with our partners, the decision was made to actually include that 1.9 extra mile, which has been previously cleared in the environmental document for a delivery of this project.
Okay, so that explains the timing of the change. That's helpful to know. There's an additional 17 million in time-related overhead, contingency expenses, and mobilization, and 17 million is an awful lot of money. What happened with that?
The mobilization and contingent, so mobilization is the multiplier. As the overall cost due to the unit prices and other items went up, then you will have the mobilization, which is going to go as well also. Contingency for this project, we are using 10% due to the risk with this project. And then lastly, TRO is also multiplier. So when we actually added those, comes out to be $17 million.
Okay, thank you for that answer. With these scope changes coming in so late in the process, it feels for us up here as a commission that we're often squeezed into a position where we don't have any real discretion, because if we vote against it, huge negative consequences of projects dying and things not moving forward, cost increasing and everything like that. So especially for the staff, I mean, is there a way that we can, I don't know if you have, maybe just for your district, but Caltrans generally and staff too, do you have ideas on how we can avoid this, where we're up here facing all these late stage scope changes and added costs and what's going on, and can we, is there anything we can do about this so that we're not up here with surprises that we're not really looking for? If you or staff have ideas on how we might rectify this, I think it'd be really helpful.
Well, I can take on the district portion if director wants to take the statewide portion. So
Which one do you want to go first?
I would put it over.
Okay, Director Tabar.
Certainly. So thank you for that question, Commissioner Liu. I think there's always opportunities to enhance communication and do more collaboration together. And as Chair Eager mentioned, she and I have vowed to build these teams and enhance that partnership and collaboration. So I think there's opportunities for our staffs to get together, figure out some of these projects that may be on the high risk list and may have some potential scope creep, if you will, to start discussing those much earlier. So at least
a lot of language about transportation in the last 4 years, but scope creep wasn't really one. Yeah, that's a good one. I like that. That might be my favorite.
Yeah. So that's right. So I'm committed to having that collaboration with Janisha and her team.
Thank you, Director.
One thing I'll just add to what Tony has said in regards to the collaboration is this is something that our teams have been talking about consistently. And one of the things that we are in the early stages of implementing is kind of a quarterly project delivery meeting between our teams to have some of these conversations about what is going on, what are we seeing down the pipeline, so that we're being early and proactive. And so those conversations are already starting to happen.
Thank you.
Nothing additional to add in addition, but just to kind of add on to what Tanisha just said is that we are also planning to talk at an even lower staff level to flesh out some of these concerns so that we can better understand them before they're coming to the meeting, which I think is the biggest thing that we need to do, so that by the time there's a request, we've had an opportunity to ask enough questions to feel more comfortable.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you, Martinez.
Madam Chair, I've spoken with Tim and Tanisha about this a lot, about communication, accountability, transparency, and I want to thank Commissioner Liu for his points, and I agree with them. But is there a way that we can work with Caltrans and figure out what are some of these trigger points or feedback loops that you all will encounter throughout these processes, for a lot of the project delivery? There are times where you can anticipate, and then we obviously know there are times where you're not able to anticipate. So I appreciate that. But for us up here, bringing things at the 11th hour becomes very difficult for us to just rubber stamp and move things forward. And so how is it that we can work with both staffs and figuring out ways, instead of things coming to us very last minute, putting in a process, and you all already have a process, according to Tim, that you all communicate and work well together, but we are in a new normal, and we're going to anticipate a lot of these issues with supply, materials, on and so forth. And so, how do we move in that direction? Because I think we're going to continue to see a lot of extensions and more money being spent like never before. But how can we mitigate that by creating these feedback loops and coming back to us as a commission to ensuring that you are communicating, that it is transparent, that when we're voting on this, we can tell the public there is internal communication happening. And yes, it had to come to us very last minute to not to violate any laws, on and so forth, but figuring out ways of how I'm not asking you to protect me, I'm an adult, but at the same time, we have to go back to the constituents of California, because we're approving this funding, right? And we're wanting to make sure, and obviously you all are doing your best to figure out how to navigate this new normal. And so whatever we can do to make changes and adjustments to help us and give us some ease to move forward and to continue to be supportive. If we can do a little bit more tweaks to be helpful to us, be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Yes, Tim.
Maybe I'll hit a couple of things that I think are important to discuss about. Sorry, Tim pointed at me, so. A couple of things. So a couple of those trigger points that we have in place right now is before every commission meeting, Tony and his executive team, as well as myself and our acting chief deputy, Golozewski, we all speak and we talk about some of the issues that are coming before the commission meeting so that we're all kind of in alignment on what the challenges are, how we kind of got there. We also at the staff level, Tim and his team meet frequently with Caltrans to have a lot of these conversations. Now, I will also recognize that, to your point, Commissioner Martinez, there will be things that come to us that are challenging because we have climate change, we have real-time challenges, we have storms, we have a lot of things that come to the commission, and it is, we need to allocate the funds to get the roadway back open so the public can be safe. And we're going to do our best to manage those things and to alert you when those things are coming to you. But we're even at the point where collaboration with Caltrans or CalSTO or any of the regional agencies occurs during the meeting sometimes, as well as we're having these challenging issues come up so that we're able to answer the questions, that we're able to be transparent about what is going on. Sometimes they are more challenging, I will admit, and there's always room for improvement. And so to your point on continuing to tweak, we have to be ever evolving because, right, we're managing people and things, and the people change and the things change, and we have to adapt as those things change as well. But we'll continue to tweak, continue to keep the strong partnership that we have and the open communication that's going forward.
Anything you want to add, Tim?
Yeah, I just wanted to add one other thing. There is another trigger point that we work with Caltrans to evaluate project risks, and Caltrans has strengthened that collaboration over the last at least 6 months. But I do see that as an opportunity to probably enhance an already existing trigger point where we can better understand it before coming to the meeting. We do a pretty good job of understanding that there are these risky projects, and there's only so much information that we have, but maybe we can do a better job working with Caltrans there because they've been very transparent about sharing some of this information, but maybe that's an area that can help us so that when we come to you with a recommendation, we've had an opportunity to fully vet it.
Thank you. We appreciate that. And thank you, Commissioner Martinez. I think that's been an ongoing issue with us, is that early communication. And yes, we understand, if you have meetings the week before we come here, that's not early enough. That has to be those ongoing communication on how did we get here and what's going to come before us should not be a surprise to anyone. So thank you for bringing that up, Amarjeet. That's in the plans. And so do we have any other questions? Certainly for Amarjeet or any of the items between 76 and 89. Okay, now you're finished.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
So I can make a recommendation.
You can make a recommendation.
Okay. Staff has reviewed the projects and book items for tabs 76 through 89 and recommends approval.
Do we have any public comment?
We have no public comment for any of these items. Thank you.
Thank you. Then I'll entertain a motion.
So moved. Move it, Tabuloni.
Shaw. Martinez seconds. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. We will now move to 90 through 96. Tim.
Thank you. Yes, I will be taking tabs 90 through 96 with a recommendation at the end.
Okay.
Tab 96 is an action item for a pavement preservation project on State Route 299 in Trinity County that is requesting $500,000 in supplemental funds for the plan specifications and estimate phase. Please note some minor revisions on this book item as identified on the change list. Project needs additional funds due to the addition of stormwater treatment features to address a violation issued by the Regional Water Board, revisions to guardrail design at existing rock wall locations, and additional culverts that require rehabilitation. Tab 91 is an action item for a safety improvement project on State Route 49 in Placer County, requesting $50,000 in supplemental funds for right-of-way support and $150,000 in supplemental funds for the plan specification and estimates phase. The project realized cost increases to these two phases due to complex design and construction staging, challenging right-of-way acquisition efforts involving multiple parcels, and additional coordination with permitting agencies. Tab 92 is an action item for a pavement preservation project on State Route 32 in Butte County, requesting $250,000 in supplemental funds for the plan specification estimate phase. The project has cost increases to working around multiple utilities to avoid conflicts. There were also many project elements such as traffic signals, curb ramps, drainage systems, and sidewalks that required design modifications to avoid these utility conflicts. Some of these modifications have caused multiple revisions to many design features. Caltrans is also working with Union Pacific Railroad to conduct and analyze video data related to traffic queuing. Tab 93 is an action item for a safety improvements project on US 50 in El Dorado County, requesting $300,000 in supplemental funds for the plan specification estimate phase. This project phase requires additional funds due to work related to acquiring construction easements and permanent right-of-way acquisitions on 104 parcels. After consulting with multiple property owners, designs needed to be modified multiple times to accommodate property owner requests and to minimize the number of resolutions of necessity. Tab 94 is an action item for a maintenance facilities project on State Route 89 in Placer County, requesting $250,000 in supplemental funds for the project approval and environmental document phase. The project phase requires additional funds due to additional efforts necessary to evaluate multiple alternatives that would still meet the purpose and need of the project. In addition, they evaluated these alternatives to consider addressing the unique restrictive environmental regulations from the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency while also trying to stay within the program capital budget. Ultimately, after the evaluation of multiple alternatives, the project scope was revised and the supplemental funds are needed to complete the environmental phase of the new scope. And tab 95 is an action item for a sustainability and complete streets project in State Route 183 in Monterey County that is requesting $700,000 in supplemental funds for the plan specifications and estimate phase. The project phase requires additional funds due to changes to design features, including retaining walls, additional efforts with utility identification work, and then additional coordination to award the contract. And tab 96 is an action item for a pavement preservation project on State Route 2 in Los Angeles County that is requesting $550,000 in supplemental funds for the plan specification and estimates phase. The project requires additional funds due to the department's decision to re-advertise the contract on the results of bid openings in April of 2023. The contract received 2 bids, of which the lowest bid was 135% above the engineer's estimate. The department decided to redesign the plans and adjust the specifications to address issues raised by the bidders. Staff has reviewed the projects and book items for tabs 90 through 96 and recommends approval.
Thank you, Tim. We have any questions on 90 through 96? We have any public comment?
We received no public comment for these items.
Thank you. And I'll entertain a motion. Commissioner Falcone, second.
Second.
Commissioner Grisby, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. 97 and 98.
Thank you. I'm going to present tabs 97 and 98 with a recommendation at the end. Tab 97 is an action item for a pavement preservation project on State Route 46 in San Luis Obispo County, requesting $1,262,000 of supplemental funds for construction capital to award the contract. In June of 23, the department held a bid opening and contract received 3 bids, of which the lowest bid was 15.8% above the engineer's estimate. Main reasons for increase are related to traffic control, precast concrete pavement, and asphalt. Tab 98 is an action item for a bridge rehabilitation and replacement project on State Route 41 and I-5 in Kings and Fresno counties, requesting $2,947,000 of supplemental funds for construction capital to award the contract. In June of 23, the department held the bid opening. The contract received 3 bids, which the lowest bid was 17% above the engineer's estimate. Main reasons for the increase are related to concrete, mobilization, traffic control, and steel. Staff has reviewed the projects and book items from tabs 97 and 98 and recommends approval.
Thank you, Tim. Do we have any comments or questions from commissioners? Do we have any public comment?
We received no public comment for these items.
I'll entertain a motion to accept 97 and 98.
Move
Commissioner,
it.
second, Commissioner Grisby, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Commissioner,
99.
I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'll be taking tabs 99 through 101 with a recommendation
Okay.
at the end. Tab 99 is an action item for a bridge rehabilitation and replacement project on State Route 3 in Trinity County, requesting $850,000 of supplemental funds for construction support to complete construction. The project identified the need for additional funding due to delays from recent fires, heavy precipitation, and utility relocations. As a result, task orders were required for consultant staff to perform the inspection, and the additional inspection work required an additional construction season. Tab 100 is an action item for a major damage restoration project on State Route 9 in Santa Cruz County, requesting $225,000 of supplemental funds for construction support to complete construction. The project realized cost increases due to delays with underground utility conflicts that ultimately required the utility to be relocated, changes to design of a retaining wall as a result of differing site conditions, and the need for a task order for consultant support staff to assist the department with coordination and inspection work. Tab 101 is an action item for a capital bridge prevention maintenance program project on State Route 4 in San Joaquin County, requesting $2,205,000 of supplemental funds for construction capital to complete construction. The project realized cost increases due to additional traffic control for bridge-related work, delays in procuring bridge components, and additional miscellaneous bridge work that resulted in additional time-related overhead. Staff has reviewed the projects and book items for tab 99 through 101 and recommends approval.
Thank you, Tim. Any questions on 99 through 101? Yes, Commissioner Falcone.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wanted to ask a question about item 99. In my review, it was interesting. It's not very much in terms of the amount. However, it was a little bit of a I started questioning, the expending above the G12. I wanted to get some clarity on that. If we're asking for, or if the request is for additional funds above G12.
Oh,
Anybody else? Okay.
Dave Moore has shown up to the podium. And just maybe just a quick clarification on G12.
Yeah.
The G12 is a delegated authority for Caltrans to be able to increase their allocation to reduce the number of actions coming to the commission. And then anything above that would be a supplemental
Brought
fund.
to.
Correct.
Thank you.
Anything you want to add?
Yes, thank you, commissioners. To clarify, and I thought it was clear in the write-up, and if it wasn't, I do apologize that we did overspend our budget authority on this project. So in following the resolution G12 process, we authorized additional money towards this project, and we did overexpend that internal authority that we had authorized.
And so what contributed to having to ask for additional over the G12 amount?
Okay, if it's over the G12 amount, that's where we come here and ask for that supplemental funding request.
Was there a scope change, or were there
What's that?
were there a scope change or special conditions that resulted in the increase?
There were lots of reasonings that related to the increase, and I will say the G12 authority on this project is actually about 450,000.
Okay.
So when we made those internal authorizations, we didn't authorize the 100% of the amount that we were allowed to go up to.
Okay.
Those additional increases, including having to winter over the project an additional year, that ended up having additional support costs in monitoring the project and monitoring the stormwater treatment elements that were within that project, as well as that additional time and stuff spent on the project.
Okay. Thank you. I've just noticed, your project is not the only project that I've seen this type of request. And I guess my comment is in support of and in spirit of the comments that were made by my colleagues earlier in regards to open communication between Caltrans and CTC. So that we're not put in this situation, sort of on the nth hour to make decisions on requests that go above, a statutory policy. And so I've only asked respectfully if we can add, as we continue improving on communications between our agencies, if G12 can be also something to just kind of watch out for. And I thank you for indulging me in the question, but it was just something that I started to see a little bit more and more of, and I wanted to, bring that up with your question, with your project. So I appreciate you stepping up and answering my questions on this. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Tim.
Yeah, I wanted to add just one thing. It's just kind of a clarification on the expectations of the use of the delegated G12. Is that when the funding is taken, that the expectation is that is enough to complete that phase. And so
This is construction.
that's our expectation. And then sometimes additional things happen and then they need to come in for a supplemental. But that's just wanted to kind of clarify that piece.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Tim.
Any other questions for 99 through 101? Do you have any public comment?
We received no public comment for any of these items.
Thank you. Then I will entertain a motion for 99 to accept 99 through 101.
So moved, Bradshaw.
Bradshaw.
I'll second.
Second Falcone. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 102 through 105. Tim.
Thank you. Yes, I'm almost finished talking.
Sure.
I will be presenting tabs 102 through 105 with a recommendation at the end. Tab 102 is an action item for a pedestrian infrastructure project on US 101 in Humboldt County requesting 281,000 of supplemental funds for construction capital to close out construction. The department received a claim by the contractor at the completion of the project for due to encountering unanticipated man-made objects and a change to the means and methods of construction. Tab 103 is an action item for major damage restoration, an emergency opening project on State Route 58 in Kern County requesting 400,000 of supplemental funds for construction capital to close out construction. In February of 23, the Central Valley experienced a series of ongoing emergency flooding due to the atmospheric river events. And in early of March of 2023, the contractor mobilized and construction began. The original contract estimated 20 working days of 24-hour traffic control. However, due to flooding and ongoing unprecedented rain events during the month of March, a total of 24 days of 24-hour traffic control were used. During this time, the contractor was only able to perform work sporadically. And tab 104 is an action item for a bridge rehabilitation and replacement project on State Route 710 in Los Angeles County, requesting 49,600,000 of supplemental funds for construction capital to close out construction. Please note there's a revision to the book item attachment as identified on the change list. The requested amount represents Caltrans' share of the settlement of all outstanding claims that were filed by the contractor and settled by the port. After the settlement with the contractor, the port and Caltrans entered into a settlement agreement, and this amount represents the final payment of state funding to be contributed to this project. Tab 105 is an action item for a safety improvements project on State Route 74 in Riverside County, requesting 1,800,000 of supplemental funds for construction capital to close out construction. The project realized cost increases due to contract change orders related to conflicts with laterals for underground utilities identified during excavation for drainage improvements. After resolving most of the change orders, there was 10 unresolved claims requiring additional coordination. After meeting with the contractor for several months, the issues were taken to the dispute resolution board, and the board rendered their decision, and agreed settlement with the contractor is 1,800,000. Staff has reviewed the projects and book items for tabs 102 through 105 and recommends approval.
Thank you, Tim. Do we have any questions from commissioners? Yes, Commissioner Liu.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You turn the mic on. Thank you. On the 104, right, International Gateway Bridge. I want to start just by thanking Dwayne Kanagi with the Capital Programs Executive at Port of Long Beach for briefing me on the bridge itself and the port's perspective on how things played out on this. I think the real question is, this is the first that I'm hearing about these added costs incurring in a situation where we were supposed to have fixed cost and it was all done and so forth. There was litigation, a settlement, and some complexities, and now we're on the hook for having to pay some more, but we didn't know about it. And you guys invited us to a pre-bridge opening tour in which we went up there, took a lot of pictures. We're all very happy. And now I'm looking at those pictures and thinking I probably wouldn't have been so happy if I knew we were having to pay more for this bridge. So I have some advice and a question. The advice is that we don't like to be surprised and we don't like to look foolish. And when I think of those pictures now of me smiling on that bridge, I feel kind of foolish, right? So I guess the question is, the advice is don't do that. But the question is, what are we going to do to avoid surprises like this in the future, so that we're not surprised and feeling foolish when there are added costs in here? And I mean, from the explanation, I understand how it played out. I'm not saying that we shouldn't, settle this and get it done with, but how do we avoid this in the future? I don't think it was your fault, Gloria, but I know you have to answer the question, but thank you.
So thank you, Commissioner Liu, Director Chair Eager, Director Taylor, and Director Tavares. Gloria Roberts here, District 7 Director. In hearing your prior questions also in terms of really the proactive communication, right, the early communication. And I think this project has always been put on our watch list in terms of risk managing, knowing that there are certain risks attached to how we proceeded with the project, knowing that there's concerns that there could be potential claims. And so we don't know the exact amount of what the claims would be as the project progresses towards completion. And so what we aim to do is really work through our team and with the CTC staff to come to you when we have complete information. So as to not come to you with alarm and later say, well, we don't have enough information to provide a good answer to give you confidence. And so we did approach and work with CTC staff. We have a very good relationship, very open. And so once we knew of the full settlement, the claim settlement amount, we started having conversations saying, okay, this is what it is, and started the education with the CTC staff to say, this is where we are and how we got to the 49.6 million asked today.
Okay. So generally speaking, in the future, when we're doing tours and going to events and things like that, if there are outstanding issues that we should be aware of, let us know. I mean, if you guys know, if staff knows, because I mean, this was a real surprise. And I think everyone seemed to have known that something was going to happen, but yet we weren't informed of it. But I just wanted to make sure that we don't see this happening again and again and again, especially when there was so much good about this bridge and this bridge project. But it was a little awkward to be now coming in under these circumstances and getting hit with more in a way that just wasn't kind of known at all. Like we said.
I appreciate your point. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Director Tavares, did you want to respond?
Yes, thank you, Chair Eager. Commissioner Liu, point well taken. I totally agree with you. And I think this can be part of our robust proactive communication plan that we put together with Commission on how we bring these types of issues to you much sooner. So you're aware that there's something brewing. We obviously have, the. Yeah.
There's something here.
Absolutely. We may not even know the exposure, we may not know all the details, but we know there's something. And so we need to caveat that. Absolutely agree with you.
We appreciate that. And we certainly appreciate all the negotiations that you did to get us to that number. That first number was huge. So thank you for doing that too.
No, thank you. And we do appreciate the partnership of the Port of Long Beach in all of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions on this section? We're 102 to 105. Oh, thank you. We have any public comment?
We did not receive any public comment for these items.
Then I'll entertain a motion to accept. Commissioner Liu, second by Bradshaw. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. We're going to take a quick break right here until 1:25. We'll take a 10-minute break. I mean, 11:25. Sorry. I can't go back in time. I wish I could, but I can. Yeah. Oh, Bradshaw. He'll be right here. Yes. And Commissioner Grisby will be back in 2 minutes. One minute, Casey, 1 minute. Mhm. Actually, I didn't hear it. This shouldn't go. Yeah, yeah. Oh, here he comes. Awkward. Okay, thank you. Okay, we are back in session, Casey, 106 through 112 and then 115.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so Commissioners, tabs 106 through 112 and 115 are action items for the Transit and Intercity Rail Capital Program. These items will be taken together. Tab 106 is a supplemental request to allocate an additional $75,000 to the Sacramento Valley Station Transit Center in Sacramento County. The implementing agency incorrectly programmed a portion of the design scope, causing the design phase to be under-programmed. This supplemental request is necessary to complete design. Tab 107 is a supplemental request to allocate $650,000 to the Valley Rail Elk Grove Station in Sacramento County. A property owner of the parcel the implementing agency is purchasing proposed to split the property, which the implementing agency agreed to. As a result, the additional funds are needed to revise the existing plans to incorporate this change to complete the design phase. Tab 108 is a supplemental request to allocate $5,012,000 to the Valley Rail Elk Grove Station in Sacramento County. The implementing agency incorrectly programmed a portion of the right-of-way scope, causing the right-of-way phase to be under-programmed. The supplemental request is necessary to complete the right-of-way phase. Tab 109 is a supplemental request to allocate $300,000 to the Valley Rail Natomas Station and Layover Facility in Sacramento County. In August 2022, the implementing agency incorrectly split this component, causing another component to be over-allocated and this component to be under-allocated. This supplemental request is necessary to complete the design phase. Tab 110 is a supplemental request to allocate $682,000 to the Valley Rail Natomas Station and Layover Facility in Sacramento County. After finalizing the right-of-way surveying and grading design of the track work, the implementing agency realized additional right-of-way is needed on one of the 3 parcels being purchased to allow sufficient space for grading. This supplemental request is necessary to purchase the additional right-of-way. Tab 111 is a supplemental request to allocate $500,000 to the Valley Rail Phillips Siding Rehabilitation Component in Sacramento County. In August 2022, the implementing agency incorrectly split this component, causing another component to be over-allocated and this component to be under-allocated. This supplemental request is necessary to complete the design phase. Tab 112 is a supplemental request to allocate $5,012,000 to the diesel multiple unit vehicle to zero or low emission vehicle conversions supporting infrastructure component in San Bernardino County. The implementing agency's cost estimate for this project at the time of its initial allocation was $1.8 million. The agency received proposals 3 times the amount with a total cost of $6.5 million. Since the current rail hydrogen fueling stations do not exist, cost estimates were based on light duty hydrogen fueling stations, causing the cost estimates to be significantly off. This supplemental request is necessary to complete construction. And then tab 115 is a supplemental request to allocate $270,000 to the Goleta Train Depot Improvements New Facility Multimodal Facility adjacent to the Amtrak station in Santa Barbara County. The city received requests from public organizers and the city council to modify the project scope to include the addition of non-gender restrooms, updating bicycle lanes from class 2 to class 4, and a design change to the HVAC ducts from exposed to enclosed. This supplemental request is necessary to revise and complete the design phase. Staff has reviewed these requests and finds them consistent with the program's allocation policy. Staff recommends your approval of tabs 106 through 112 and tab 115.
Thank you, Casey. Any question or comments from commissioners? Do we have any public comment?
We received no public comment for these items.
Then I'll entertain a motion to accept 106 through 112 and 115. Commissioner Bradshaw. Second, Commissioner Falcone. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We'll move on to tab 116, Beverly.
Commissioners, tab 116 is an action item to approve a funding distribution change for the City of Commerce Slauson Avenue Corridor and Citywide Pedestrian, Bike, and Transit Improvements Project in Los Angeles County. Please note that there is a yellow replacement book item for this item, which corrects the fiscal year in which construction is programmed. The city is requesting to move $10,000 in the PA and ED phase programmed in fiscal year 23-24 and $140,000 in the PS&E phase programmed in fiscal year 2024-25 to the construction phase programmed in fiscal year 2025-26. Staff has reviewed this request and finds it consistent with the Active Transportation Program guidelines. Therefore, staff recommends approval.
Thank you, Beverly. Have any comments or questions? Do we have any public comment?
We received no public comment for these items.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to accept 116. Commissioner Bradshaw,
So moved.
second Falcone. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Anya, we will take 117 through 121.
Thank you, Chair Eager. Commissioners, I will present tabs 117 through 121 individually and then ask for a vote at the end. Tab 117 is an action item to amend the 2022 local partnership formulaic funding distribution to redistribute the unused fiscal year 2022-23 incentive funding of $15 million, adding $9 million to the 2022 local partnership formulaic program and $6 million to the 2022 local partnership competitive program. Pursuant to the 2022 local partnership formulaic program guidelines, incentive funding remaining at the end of each fiscal year shall be redistributed in the following fiscal year. 60% will be redistributed to the formulaic program and 40% to the competitive program. The $6 million added to the competitive program will be used to address overprogramming in the 2022 competitive program, and the $9 million added to the formulaic program will be used to address the overprogramming balance from the 2020 formulaic program. As a result, $8,418,000 will be assigned to 46 taxing authorities funding distribution in fiscal year 2023-24, as shown in attachment A in the book item. Tab 118 is an action item to amend the local partnership formulaic program to deprogram project cost savings from 3 projects in San Diego County for a total of $777,000 as outlined in attachment A. Pursuant to the 2022 local partnership formulaic program guidelines, deprogrammed project cost savings must be reprogrammed and allocated within 12 months of the commission action. Therefore, the San Diego Regional Transportation Commission will have until August 31st, 2024 to reprogram and allocate the $777,000 in deprogrammed funds. Tabs 119 through 121, are requesting deallocation of local partnership formulaic program funds. These are the same projects for which project cost savings are being deprogrammed under tab 118. Staff has reviewed these requests and they are consistent with the local partnership formulaic program guidelines and policies. Therefore, staff recommends your approval of tabs 117, 118, 119, 120, and 121.
Thank you, Anya. Do you have any questions or comments on 117 through 121? Do you have any public comment?
We received no public comment for those items.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion. Falcone, do I have a second? Lou, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 122, Naveen.
Commissioners, tab 122 is an action item to approve a program amendment to the Cycle 3 Solutions for Congested Corridors program. This program amendment would change the project name from Sonoma Marin Area Rail Transit Windsor Rail System Extension Project to Sonoma Marin Area Rail Transit Windsor Extension Project, and split the program project into 3 components with individual names and scope descriptions as provided in the book item. These changes will ensure accurate project tracking for the Solutions for Congested Corridors program, as well as timely delivery for this project. This request is consistent with the Solutions for Congested Corridors program and guidelines. Therefore, Commission staff recommends your approval of tab 122. Thank you.
Thank you, Naveen. Comments or questions? Do we have any public comment?
We received no public comment.
Thank you. I entertain a motion on 122.
So moved.
Commissioner Bradshaw, second.
Move it.
Oh, I heard God. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 123 and 124. John.
Yes.
Welcome back, John.
Thank you. Thank you. 123 and 124 are both shop allocations, so we're taking them together. There's a couple changes being made via the change list to both of these items. Tab 123 is an action item for shop construction allocations. August is always by far our largest meeting for shop construction allocations because of the many projects that Caltrans delivers at the end of the fiscal year. So with that said, this item will allocate $1,385,275,000 for 65 shop projects. Yay. And
yes,
yeah. I'll be brief, but I just want to mention a little bit of the good that they did. These 65 projects will improve 58 bridges, 704 lane miles of pavement, 41 culverts, over 1,000 TMS elements, and lots of other improvements. Aside, those are just the 4 primary assets. And the projects range from anywhere from under $1 million to over $200 million. So we have a very wide range of size of projects. A lot of the funding goes to pavement projects, but I will note that Caltrans does a really good job of when they do a pavement project, so we see pavement as the primary asset, but there's a lot of these other supplementary assets that gets blended in with the pavement, whether it's culverts or climate resiliency stuff, almost always complete street stuff gets wrapped into there. So a lot of other improvements are mixed into those, lots of other improvements. So that's 123. Let me scroll to 124. 124 is an action item for pre-construction support allocations. This item will allocate $103,314,000 for 69 shop pre-construction phases for PA&ED, PS&E, and right-of-way support. With that said, staff recommends approval of items 123 and 124.
Thank you, John. Do we have any questions or comments? Other than that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money going out the door. Do we have any public comment?
Yes, we have one virtual attendee looking to comment, and we have William Walker.
I hope you still miss me after my comment, Chair Eager. Hello, commissioners and staff and everyone. It's William Walker. I'm just representing myself from San Francisco. Y'all know why, but I don't want to speak for something that's not fully baked. So, but I am speaking on this item. $1 billion is a lot of money. And what would be really nice is if in future allocations for shop, if there could just be a quick list of what the complete streets items were and like what items help to reduce pedestrian deaths or help to, enhance transportation. Like I know that a lot of improvements happening on 19th Avenue in San Francisco are not just to do the shop repairs, but also are adding pedestrian enhancements. And I'm looking at the item and maybe it's there and I'm not seeing it, but it would be nice to see them called out. And if not in like every time you do one of these items, like just like a report on it annually, I guess. And maybe I've missed that. I can't always stay at all the meetings. So I apologize if it's been done and I just missed it. Thank you.
You want to respond to that, John?
I'll say, we can work with Caltrans on what that would look like for these individual allocations. Thank you for the comment. I would steer you to, this is not annually, but the 2024 shop is coming out pretty soon. And what Caltrans has gotten in the habit of doing is doing a very good job at all the projects in the shop program and highlighting what complete streets elements are in there. So coming up this December or so, that will be a good time for us to look at that. And then we'll have some conversations on what it would look like to maybe highlight them at a interval that's maybe a little bit more than just 2-year cycle.
It'd be nice to tell the communities that, well, my constituents that, and I'm not elected, but people in my region want to know like immediately how much of this highway money is actually benefiting, other things. And I know that there are parts of these projects that do benefit that, but yeah, doing it once every 2 years is not giving your team enough acknowledgement for the work that you are doing to make our highways safer and our streets safer. But I appreciate the response and thank you all.
Yeah, can I say one more thing? Because I think I would be doing Caltrans a disservice if I didn't mention they put a lot of hard work, and I don't know if you have access to the shop. It's the 10-year project book, and they have put it online and made it public for everyone to be able to look at. And it goes into a lot of detail. So if you want to reach out to me, I'd be happy to give you a link to that. Last time we updated the guidelines, we worked hard with Caltrans, and they did a really good job at providing a tool that allows, like what you're saying, community members to zoom in geographically on a map and see what projects are there and what specific improvements are in each project. So I'd be happy to send you some information on that if you want to reach out. That's a lot more live than just the 2-year cycle like you're asking about.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, John. Have any other comments or questions?
Yes. I'd like to also add to that I think it would be helpful if we could have a review from the applicants about what these investments have been doing to actually improve mode shift. I think it's one thing to have complete streets elements. It's another thing to talk about how it's actually being used. And what I'm impressed by in a lot of the shop projects is that these tend to be some filling gaps. And so they actually add towards making it possible for people to take an electric bike farther than they ever could before, or have pedestrian safety, or have transit on some of the corridors. And so it would be wonderful to talk about how this improved ridership and it improved, active transportation use as a way of just maybe even annually, so that we can include it in our annual reports. Because I think knowing how this is changing behavior and actually helping to clean the planet and support our goals for CAPDI would be wonderful.
Thank you, Commissioner Norton. I don't know if any of the rest of you got the notification on your phone that said, get ready. There's a hurricane coming and it's called Hurricane Hillary, for real. It said, get ready, San Diego. I said, oh, too late. Already here.
and spelled the way I spell Hillary. So it's like, ooh, they really mean it.
Any other questions or comments on 123 and 124? Then who would like to make a motion to allocate over $1.4 billion? Commissioner Liu, I think you'd like to.
Sure.
Okay.
And I'll second it.
And Commissioner Norton would like to second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, John. Now we'll go to tab 125 through 131. Casey.
So I'm going to take 125 to 130. We took 131 earlier this morning.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Okay, so tabs 125 through 130 include various STIP allocations as reflected on the agenda and the change list. These requests are consistent with the program guidelines. Staff recommends your approval of tabs 125 through 130.
Great, thank you. Any comments or questions on 125 through 130? We have any public comment?
We received no public comment.
I'll entertain a motion to accept 125 through 130.
So moved.
Commissioner Bradshaw, Commissioner Falcone, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We did 131 and 132, so now we will go to 133. Anya.
Thank you, Commissioners. Tab 133 is an action item requesting allocation of $1,039,000 of local partnership formulaic program funds for 3 locally administered transit projects. 2 projects are in Napa County and 1 is in Santa Cruz County. Please note, as part of the allocation for the Santa Cruz Metro Revenue Vehicle Replacement Project in Santa Cruz County, the agency requests approval of a minor scope change, which will allow them to purchase zero-emission buses instead of compressed natural gas buses. Staff has reviewed these requests and they are consistent with local partnership formulaic program guidelines. Therefore, staff recommends your approval of tab 133.
Thank you, Anya. Any comments or questions on 133? Do you have any public comment?
We received no public comment for this item.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion on 133.
So moved.
Commissioner Bradshaw, Commissioner Liu, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Lashara, 134.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Tab 134 is an action item to request allocation of $5 million in local partnership program formulaic funds, $3,400,000 in regional STIP funds, and $8,600,000 in local partnership competitive funds, for a total allocation of $17 million. The US 101 Hearn Avenue Regional Multimodal Interchange Project in Santa Rosa is the first successful applicant from cycle 3 of the local partnership competitive program that was adopted this past June to seek an allocation. This project will demolish and replace the US 101 Hearn Avenue overcrossing to increase vertical clearance over US 101 and provide 2 vehicle lanes in each direction, a median, sidewalks, and class 2 and class 4 bikeways. The project will also widen 3 intersections with the addition of turning lanes and add ADA elements and protected intersection facilities for bike crossing. Staff has reviewed this request and recommends approval of tab 134.
Thank you. Do we have any comments or questions on 134? Do we have any public comment?
We received no public comment for 134.
All right, entertain a motion.
So moved.
Oh, is that Commissioner Tavaloni? Is that you?
Yes.
Wow. So nice to hear you.
I've
Moved
been
by-
here.
Moved by Commissioner Tavaloni, second by Commissioner Bradshaw. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Lori, welcome.
Thank you.
136.
Good morning. Tab 136 is a request from the department for a 3-month post-fact time extension to extend the period of allocation for the construction phase of the American River Bridge Shared Use Trail Project. This project is combined with the SHOP funded project. So what happened was the department received a 3-month time extension for the SHOP funded portion at the June meeting. But they missed that they also needed to request the time extension for the ATP portion. So, so now they're requesting to get the 3-month time extension for the ATP portion. So staff recommends approval of this post-fact time extension.
Thank you. Do you have any comments or questions on 136? Do you have any public comments?
We received no public comment.
Entertain a motion. Falcone,
Move it.
second Grisby, next time Martinez. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 137 and 138, Beverly.
Commissioners, I will present tabs 137 and 138 together with a recommendation at the end. Tab 137 is an action item to approve allocations of $40,634,000 for 32 locally administered active transportation program projects. Please note that this item has two changes on the change list, showing specific project outputs for Project 12 and reflecting a concurrent technical change to Project 23 approved under tab 66. Tab 138 is an action item to approve a construction phase allocation of $2,700,000 for the state administered American River Bridge Shared Use Trail Active Transportation Program project. Staff has reviewed these requests and finds them consistent with the Active Transportation Program guidelines and the adopted programs. Therefore, staff recommends approval.
Thank you, Beverly. We have any comments or questions on 137 and 138? We have any public comment?
We received no public comment for these items.
Then I believe I have a motion by Commissioner Martinez. Do I have a second? Second, Grisby. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. We have 139 through 149. Oh, no, I'm sorry, 139 through 141 first. Yes, Jaden.
Through 141 first, you said, Commissioner?
139 through 141.
Okay, perfect. One moment. Commissioners, tabs 139 through 141 are action items to consider approval of time extensions for projects in the State Highway Operation Protection Program. Staff has reviewed tabs 139 through 141 and recommends approval in accordance with the change list and time extension recommendation table. Chair, I'm sorry. I believe we were supposed to take tabs 139 through 149 together.
We were, but it looked like you were just going to do the first three and then we switched over to Casey. Are we not doing that?
For the sake,
Jaden is prepared to take them all at once.
Are you?
I'm sure you want to do a test, please.
Can you say something?
Can you hear us?
I'm sure they're good. We're good to go.
Okay. Then we have any comments or questions on 139 through 149? Do we have any public comment?
It appears we still do not have any public comment.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
So move it.
That's Grisby and Bradshaw. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We will move on to 150.
Yes, Commissioners, tab 150 is an action item to consider approval for a post-fact time extension to extend the period of project development expenditure for a state highway operation and protection program project as an exception to the state highway operation and protection program guidelines. Staff has reviewed tab 150 and recommends approval.
Thank you. Any comments or questions on 150? I will entertain a motion.
Move it.
Bradshaw, second. Lou, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. 151, Kenneth. There he is.
Commissioners, tab 151 is a project delivery post-fact amendment request to extend the period of project completion for the multi-funded state transportation improvement program in Senate Bill 1 Trade Corridor Enhancement Program, Route 132 Expressway Phase 1 project as an exception to the STIP and TSIP guidelines. The city of Modesto encountered additional delays due to additional electrical work that was needed, unusual heavy rainfall earlier in the year, and additional safety requirements that delay final testing of a stormwater pump. The city of Modesto is requesting an additional 6 months to complete the project. Staff recommends approval of this request for TSIP. However, the STIP does not recommend approval as statute prohibits more than one time extension. Therefore, staff does not recommend approval of this request. All STIP funds allocated to the construction phase are fully expended, and therefore not approving the request for STIP will not impact the project. The city confirms they have sufficient local funds to cover any additional expenses. Staff recommends approval of this request for the Trade Corridor Enhancement Program funded portion of the project. At this point, I'll take any questions.
Are there any questions on 151? Or any public comment on 151?
We received no public comment for the item.
Then I will entertain a motion. So it's only for TSAP. Correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, I'm no, I'm.
so need to take two?
Would be the clearest.
Yes. So tell us your motion in two parts. That way we can vote on each section.
Okay, staff recommends approval of this request for the Trade Corridor Enhancement Program funded portion of the project.
That's the TSAP.
TSIP, yes.
To accept that. Okay.
Yes.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Bradshaw, do I have a second? Second, Lou. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Now, part two.
Part two, the STIP does not recommend approval of this request.
So that we would be voting to deny it.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Bradshaw, second. Grisby, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Kenneth.
Thank you.
152, Casey.
Tab 152 is a tab 152 is a post-fact time extension to extend the period of project development expenditures by 20 months for the I-10 eastbound truck climbing lane project in San Bernardino County. The agency submitted the time extension request for the June meeting. However, it was missed by the department in error, resulting in a post-fact time extension request. Staff has reviewed this request and finds it consistent with the program guidelines. Staff recommends your approval.
Thank you, Casey. Any comments or questions? Do we have any public comment?
We received no public comment for the item.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to accept 150.
Move it.
Lou, do I have a second? Bradshaw, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. We're almost there. 153, Jaden.
Commissioners, tab 153 is an action item to consider approval to amend the period of project allocation for a previously approved time extension for a state highway operation and protection program project as an exception to the state highway operation and protection program guidelines. Staff has reviewed tab 153 and recommends approval.
Thank you. Any comments or questions on 153? Any public comment?
We received no public comment for the item.
Entertain a motion? So moved. Norton, do I have a second? Martinez, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Beverly, take us home.
Commissioners, tab 154 is an action item to consider an amended project development expenditure time extension for the right-of-way phase for the Transportation Agency of Monterey County's rail extension to Monterey County Package 2 Salinas Layover Facility Project, and that is a traffic congestion relief program project. The agency continues to face delays in acquiring the 5 remaining parcels needed for the project from Union Pacific Railroad and is requesting 20 additional months to complete right-of-way expenditures. Staff has reviewed this request and recommends approval.
Thank you. Any comments or questions on 154? Any public comment?
Yes, we do have one virtual attendee with their hand raised for this item. I'd like to call on William Walker.
I'll be quick. I think this is really relevant. My name is William Walker. To my life, I had to drive between San Francisco and San Luis Obispo because there isn't a vital transit link that's reliable between those places. And I think that this project is helpful for Monterey County and the transit authority there, but I'm hoping that it can also be tied into just looking at, especially since the projected delay for high-speed rail in the Central Valley to LA, looking at this corridor that already has rail in place to see if we can improve service so that you can get from San Francisco to Los Angeles on a train more than once per day.
Thank you, William.
Thank you.
Any other public comment?
I see no other public comment for this item.
Entertain a motion on 154?
So moved. Second.
I think that was Bradshaw and Bisbee. Yes, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Do we have any public comment on anything else? People waiting to tell us something really exciting.
Given it a few moments,
Okay,
not seeing anybody online indicating they wish to comment at this time.
thank you. Before we adjourn, I think we just need to take in this moment that these last 2 days, we've allocated over $3 billion. So we want to say a special thank you to the CTC staff because that's a monumental task. And that does relate to about 35,000 jobs. I think we talked about this for the last 2 days on what does this mean when we put this money out, and really it's about the people in those communities and about the jobs that we get to allocate money so people can work on. So thank you all so much for all the work that you all do too in all of the regions. Great job, and we will see all of you in Madera. Yes, so thank you. We are adjourned.